Let's be real. If you are listening to this episode, you likely have big goals, big dreams. How many times have you set yourself something really ambitious and then you didn't quite feel like you could get there? Between your personal life, work, and business, one constant, and that is you. Sometimes what's happening in our mind, we don't even know. Sabotaging your behavior. How do you think you're going to achieve these goals? Like, do you really think that you're going to do what's necessary to achieve your biggest, wildest dreams if 90% of you believes that it's impossible? How's that working for you? How much more could you achieve if you knew exactly what was holding you back from your biggest, wildest dreams? In today's episode, you are going to learn about the 7 things that are standing in between you and the life of your wildest dreams. Let's dive in. Welcome to Resonance, the podcast for high performers and entrepreneurs who want to do life, work, and success differently. I am your host, Viktoria Levenberg, and I am obsessed with efficiency, productivity, and planning in a way that harnesses your energy and your natural rhythms while keeping you in alignment and integrity. Because I have figured out that lasting success is not about the hustle. It is about being in resonance. Let's begin. Welcome, friends. At the time of the recording of this episode, we are just coming out of a new moon. I don't know about you. I mean, surely my friends in the Northern Hemisphere, it's still kind of a bit chilly. For us here in Auckland, the temperatures just dropped. And personally, I am on day 3 of my cycle. So everything has just gone slow and inwards. And that's really required some different choices in my work, life, and business. But more on that in another episode. I just kind of wanted to give you a little glimpse into what's happening for me behind the scenes. If sort of you're listening to this episode and you're like, ooh, her energy's a bit different. And you'll learn a lot more about this over the coming weeks. But that is why. It is because we are not linear day in, day out, exactly the same beings. We are cyclical beings. And so with that come ebbs and flows. And anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. What we're actually here to talk about today is you and your goals and your dreams. Let's be real. If you are listening to this episode, you likely have big goals, big dreams. Like how many times have you set yourself something really ambitious? Hey, my high performers, I see you. And then you didn't quite feel like you could get there. Whether it is in your personal life, like running that marathon or getting ripped for that competition, or whether it's in your work, like scoring that promotion or nailing that big client, or your own business, like maybe starting a business or creating this irresistible offer, right? There is between your personal life, work, and business, one constant, and that is you. And so by the end of this episode, you will know the exact 7 things that are getting in the way of your goals so that you can finally cast them aside and do what you came here to do. Because that is my purpose. That is why I am here. I am here to really help you move all the things standing in your way out of your way so that you can make big change in this world. Elevating our collective planet, elevating and creating this brand new earth for us all. That is my why. So let's dive in. First things first. I mean, we need to lay some foundations, okay? Let's kind of lay the groundwork before we start building on. And can we all agree that it isn't just our actions that matter when it comes to achieving our desired results? Am I right? Like, hopefully you understand now that you're not just not getting the goals because you're doing all the wrong things. I mean, sure, that's part of it. Not all the wrong things, but we'll get into that in just a moment. But, surely you can agree with me that you could have 2 completely different people who are given the exact same set of instructions and achieve astoundingly different results. Like, I'm sure you've seen that in your life, right? Like, maybe even let's take it all the way back to school. When you were in school and the teacher said, hey, this is your assignment, and she would give the same assignment to every student, and look at how many different results you end up with, right? And the same thing applies like at work. You know, you've got a project, and here you go, you've got this project, and you'll get completely different results between two different people. And I'm seeing this all the time, especially in my entrepreneurial community, which is called Business by Design. Like, we have the same step-by-step systems and tools and processes. And I am just seeing a lot of people get stuck, myself included. Obviously, I've experienced this for myself. But the big difference is I know why, and I know what to do about it. And that is what we're going to do for you today. So as we outline these 7 things that are standing between you and your biggest goals, we will start with some of the tangible stuff. So yes, we will start with some of the do action things that most of us tend to relate more to, and also feel like it's most accessible. It's sort of like, okay, let me tell me what to do. And then I will just warn you that we will move into some more of the intangible woo stuff. Okay, we're gonna go from the do to the woo. I thought that was pretty smart. I mean, from the do to the woo. Maybe this is going to be the name of this episode. We'll see. I don't think that would go very well, but maybe I'm wrong. So bear with me, because it all matters, and you'll see by the end of this episode how it all comes together. And I'm going to warn you, be prepared, because the last one may blow your mind. It might be quite confronting. And so I just ask you to approach this with a beginner's mindset, with an open mind, and to help kind of keep things quite tangible and familiar. Throughout all the 7 steps, we'll use the example of training for a marathon to just help give it a little bit of context, so it doesn't all just feel kind of like up in the air. So let's get into it. Number 1, structure and systems. Oh my gosh, I could talk about this for days. There are probably so many of you that have set yourself some big lofty goals with no structure at all, just throwing ish at the wall, hoping something sticks, no idea how you're going to get there. On the other side of the spectrum though, because this is a kaleidoscope, there is no right or wrong. Like, there is really that sacred balance we need to find. The problem is that on the other side of this, some of you are so freaking rigid in your structures and systems that they're literally getting in the way of your own results, because you can't see past the specific 4 walls that you put yourself into. So let's use the example of training for a marathon, right? Like, there is so much that goes into being able to run this 42+ kilometer journey, which, by the way, the physical body is literally not equipped to handle. That's why it's so hard. That's why it's such an accomplishment. And so, you know, you've got to have all the structures and systems in place, from the right gear to the right nutrition to the training schedule, all these factors to take into consideration. You can't just, you know, like, train as you please and show up on race day expecting to finish with a personal best. But also similarly, you can't be there like counting your macros to the gram, because you're just going to lose your mind. So there is a delicate, sacred balance of the right structures and systems that you need to have in place in order to make achieving your goals inevitable and easy. That's number 1, structure and systems. Number 2, planning. Planning is my jam. I could talk about this for days, but let's keep things simple. Some of you probably have no plan at all. I'm looking at you. Don't you hide in the corner. Don't you press away. I told you this was going to get confronting. You know, so many of you are probably just responding reactively to whatever the day's got in store for you. It's like, I don't know, whatever's urgent and in my face, and whatever fire I've got to put out right here, right now, right? Yeah. How's that working for you? And look, some of you on the other side of the spectrum, which is one that's really easy for me to fall into. So I will be the first to put my hand up that, hey, I'm not perfect either, and I need to keep myself in check just as much as you do, is being so over planned and over scheduled that like any last minute change throws you into a complete spiral, and then you throw the whole thing out the window. Right? So again, It's a kaleidoscope. It's a spectrum. You need a plan, but you also need to be able to flex and be prepared for the unexpected, and also leave a little bit of room for magic, because we never know what the universe has got in store for us. Am I right? And so if we were to take it back to our example of running a marathon, I mean, I don't know about you, but I haven't heard of anyone who has successfully completed a marathon without a training plan, right? Like, duh. And even so, by the way, for those of you who don't know, I ran 2 marathons myself. There was a third one I was training for. We'll get to that in just a moment. But basically, as you're preparing for the marathon, you've got your distance days, your interval days, your strength days, and then particularly in the lead up to the race, like in the week of the race, you've got to taper down your training. And the same goes for planning things like your nutrition, both in the lead up, but also on the day. Your sleep, like the first time I ran for a marathon, that whole week, I would literally train myself to wake up at 3 a.m. because the Auckland Marathon here, it starts at 6 a.m. By the time you've got to get to the freaking ferry to take you to the start line and all that stuff, like it was a 3 a.m. wake up, and I wanted my body to be prepared for the 3 a.m. wake up rather than it being a shock on race day. So that was part of my plan. Water requirements. You've got little nutrition stations, so you can have your water bottle delivered to that specific station if you want to have like special electrolytes in it or something. You need to plan this out in advance. You can't just show up on race day and like, woohoo, fingers crossed, hope for the best. That doesn't work, right? So that is number 2, planning. Super, super essential. My absolute jam and passion point. Number 3, this one's going to hit some of you hard. Some of you will be ready to hear it. Some of you will not. Either way, one day you'll come around, that I can guarantee you. And that is hustle. Grinding, burning the midnight oil, and running on empty while you're chasing whatever goal, whatever dream you set out for yourself. Ignoring your mental, physical, emotional needs, and just prioritizing getting things done above everything else. Don't get me wrong, of course it's important to get the things done. That's why I've just spoken about 1 and 2, which is structures and systems and planning. However, you won't get there through hustle. Like, think of any Olympic athlete or Grammy Award winner or Nobel Prize recipient. No one shows up on stage and goes, I just hustled and grinded and sacrificed above all else. Of course there's sacrifice, but like, not to that extreme, because when you're depleted, there is no freaking way that you have access to the innate creativity, flow, and energy within you that is required to get you those exact goals and results that you are so desperately craving. And that is because we live in a society that glorifies linear, constant productivity over cyclical alignment. And linear productivity does not work for cyclical beings, and we are cyclical beings. People, please. If there's only one thing you take away from today's episode, let it be this, is that we are nature. As human beings, we are just as much nature as any animal, any plant, anything else on this planet. So if everything else works on a cyclical rhythm, so do we. Much more on that in an episode in a couple of weeks' time. But for now, just remember, hustle's not going to get there. It's not going to get you there. And taking it back to our example of running for the marathon, like basically hustling in work and in your goals is the equivalent of running your distance days, which for those of you who aren't familiar with like marathon training plans, your distance days are where you effectively build up to, I think the longest run I did before the marathon was 35 kilometers. And then you leave a decent gap just for that final push. So like basically that would be running distance days every day. There's no freaking way you can do it. You physically, it is impossible. It's so important to even taper down before you do that big stretch of race day. Like how is it that we seem to accept it in certain areas of our life, and then when it comes to our work life, it just all goes out the window? Like, it blows my mind. Speaking of mind, after number 3, which is hustle, we're now going to get into some of the more intangible, more woo stuff. So stay with me. Number 4 is mindset and beliefs. And my gosh, like most of us, unfortunately, are just run by this monkey mind that we don't even stop to question what it's saying. We just believe everything it says. What are you thinking? Like when you think of your goals, is it like super supportive and you've already achieved them in your mind? Or is it like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't deserve this. I'm not good enough. They're going to judge me. Who am I to do this? I'm not an expert. Me. Like, look, that's not going to get you there, is it? And for many of you listening, that might be happening on an unconscious level. So I do also want to talk to that, is that sometimes what's happening in our mind, we don't even know, because it's only like 10% of our mind is in our conscious awareness, if even that. And so if you've got all these limiting beliefs in your un and subconscious sabotaging your behavior, how do you think you're going to achieve these goals? Like, do you really think that you're going to do what's necessary to achieve your biggest, wildest dreams if 90% of you believes that it's impossible? I don't know about you, but I think that is highly, highly unlikely. And there's a book that I can recommend you, which is called Existential Kink by Carolyn Grace Elliott. She dives deep into the unconscious mind. She's got some really great exercises in there. I love it. I'm a big fan. I've mentioned it on the podcast before. And my business coach and mentor, James Wedmore, always says that, people who say that mindset isn't important are just not playing a big enough game, because mindset is so freaking important. And again, taking it back to our example of the marathon, you gotta freaking believe that you're gonna cross that finish line. You hear it all the time, like Olympic athletes visualizing themselves holding that gold medal, crossing the finish line. Because again, having run these marathons myself, I can tell you from firsthand experience, especially once you hit that 30+ K mark, it's just a mind game. It is no longer a physical game. Yes, the physical part is hard, but it is all in your head. That is one thing I learned through 3+ years of training for marathons. It is the mindset piece is so important, especially on the Auckland track, which my Auckland locals will know. Basically, the half and the full marathon are on the same path. And then the way the track is designed, full marathon runners literally bypass the finish line and the half marathon runners are done. And you got to freaking run all the way to St. Heliers and then turn back around the same way you came from before you get to go to that finish line. So it is such a mind game, especially that turnaround point. Enough on that. Number 4, mindset and beliefs. Let's move into number 5. Your emotions. You're like, what? Ew, feelings. Oh, your emotions are running the show, my friends, especially if your reaction was, ew, what feelings? Suppressed, repressed, ignored, avoided emotions. Man, we got to close those stress loops. Like, you've got to deal with this stuff, because the frequency at which you are showing up, doing, the being that you are while you are in action is having a proportional effect on the results that you are achieving or not achieving in this case, right? So this is getting down into some of the real like esoteric and woo stuff. And I mean, like at the time of the recording of this episode, I literally just came off a 2.5-hour call explaining all this. So just know that you're just getting like the super duper Cliff's Notes of the fact that everything is vibration. Everything is energy. Everything is frequency. And the frequency with which you do something carries through into your work and into your results. And basically, as soon as you begin to understand that anything that doesn't feel good is a representation of falsehood, and more on this in another episode, because yeah, I could go down a total side tangent, but it goes back to if you're feeling like crap and you're thinking bad thoughts and you are hustling through and it just feels hard and the underlying emotional state is negative, there's no way you're going to achieve that wild goal. That's just, it's not going to happen. Show me one person who has and didn't end up burning out or sacrificing their health or, pretty much killing themselves in the meantime. And then we'll talk. And again, to take that back to our example of the marathon runner, Look, like for example, if you want to finish a race with a personal best, but then inside you still got unprocessed grief over the last race where maybe like you injured yourself or the weather was crap, so you were running slower or something, like be careful, because that unprocessed experience might still be rippling out into your results. And like as we speak, just to give you another like real-time example right now, I am on the precipice of like announcing my big pivot to the public again at the time of the episode recording, because these are a little bit delayed. So by the time you listen to this, I'm already delivering Efficiency Made Easy to my beta members. But right now I've got to like go and make it public and announce it and like do my big song and dance on my socials. And I'm feeling a bit of resistance. And so I've been sitting with the emotions that are, kind of behind that resistance and doing my own practices and all that sort of stuff to move through it, so I don't carry that negative energy into this really exciting new chapter of my life. And some of them unprocessed memories that are coming up, I would have never put two and two together. Like so far I've done 3 practices, and I've already got another memory that's like coming up once again. And it is just so like, your subconscious mind is wild. You wouldn't even know it if someone asked you. So just know that there is a lot beneath the surface that you don't see. Which brings me to number 6, which is your nervous system. And if you've been here from the OG days, you will very well be familiar with the fact that the nervous system runs the show, right? Like where your nervous system set point is going to be directly proportional to the results that you receive. So if you are in constant hypo or hyper arousal, which basically means like this constant sympathetic nervous system response, this fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or flop, you're not going to be able to expand into the best version of yourself that has achieved those dreams, because your nervous system literally sits at the root of everything that we have spoken about so far. Your nervous system state then determines your emotional state, which determine your thoughts and beliefs, which then determine your actions. And so if you are in a state of chronic stress and you've got all these open stress loops that are unprocessed and your stress bucket is so full that it's overflowing, you will quietly be sabotaging your success without even knowing it. I know, scary. And a really great example of this is, let's say you're training for that marathon, but at the same time, you've got a whole lot of stress at work and you've got all these deadlines that you're not meeting and your marriage is falling apart and you're about to move house and you are just completely overloaded with stress. What's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? That training load's going to overwhelm you. You're probably going to get sick. Or if you do manage to get to race day, during race time, this is so going to impact your performance. Your head won't be in the game. Everything is going to be influenced by this. So it really does start at the nervous system level. No matter what you want to do in life, it starts here. And that brings me to number 7, which is purpose. Don't roll your eyes at me on this one, please, because it shocks me that most people don't even ask themselves, why am I doing this? It baffles me. Like so many people I'll speak to and they'll go around and all the things that they're doing and they're trying to achieve, and this is where my mind always goes, because this is what I do in my work. I coach people through this process and I go, okay, well, let's take a step back. Why are you doing this? Why is this important to you? Like, I've never even stopped to ask myself that question. Guys, we need to start here, please. Be honest with yourself. Are your goals actually your goals? Or are they someone else's? Is it to get approval from mom and dad? Is it to get approval from society? Is it because it's what people expect of you? Is it because it's what good girls do? Is it because it's what looking good on the resume? You tell me. And again, first-hand experience here, friends, of running 2 marathons and training for a 3rd one. For me, marathon training was a coping mechanism. I was at the time running away from feelings, emotions, and open stress loops. I wasn't at the time yet ready to feel and witness and experience. And I only know this now looking back on it through doing a lot of the inner work that I have been doing. But in some way, I was seeking approval from my family. And I vividly remember, so I had run 2 marathons at the time. I was training for my 3rd one. And I remember having this conversation with my dad, who we've got a really complex dynamic. And he was talking about like how I'm running marathons and my stepbrother's doing Ironmans and like how crazy we are and how stupid it is. And like, he was clearly not impressed, right? My inner child was like quietly dying inside. And this was at that point in time, I was training for my 3rd marathon. And I remember after that conversation, I just stopped training. Not because that was like another way of my inner child trying to seek approval. No, it was because I realized I was like, oh, it just doesn't even matter. And so on an unconscious level, I was doing all this work and it was fueled by this desire to impress my parents. And then as soon as I noticed, oh, well, it's not impressing anyone, I was like, I'm not really enjoying it. Like, let's be honest, I was doing it for all the wrong reasons from the beginning. I was like, oh, okay, cool. We can just let that go. And I was totally cool. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy running, but like I've got Piper in my life. I've got a dog to walk. I would much rather have a nice, long, leisurely walk than like spend 4 hours on a Sunday running 35K. So that gave me a lot of my time and my life back. Nothing against marathon runners. I think it's great. Everyone's got their own hobbies, but just purpose. Come back to the why. Why are you doing this? In my example, I was doing it for the wrong reasons. And notice how all of these things lead into one another, right? So now at this point, you might be thinking, great, Vic, but how does that apply to my goals? How does that apply to my life? How do I align my internal world with my external actions so I can finally get the results that I want? Because I get what you're saying, but like, how do I do it? Well, start with your purpose. Just ask yourself, what do I truly want? No one's watching. No stage, no podium, no gold star, thumbs up for being a good girl. No. Just what do I truly want? Why do I want this? And see what emerges. See what comes up for you. And as for the rest, that is exactly what I teach inside my brand new program, Efficiency Made Easy, as we speak, like literally unpacking this with my incredible founding members. So in the meantime, for you, start with purpose and then identify out of those 7 things that are standing between you and your goals, where perhaps you have got your biggest challenge areas. Out of those 7 things, what rubbed you wrong the most? Like, what rubbed you the wrong way, if you know what I mean? And I'm sure there was one thing I said that you were like, oh, whatever, Vic. So the one that made you roll your eyes, I would start there, double down in that area. So here you go. Those are the 7 things that are holding you back from your biggest goals in priority order: alignment to your purpose, nervous system resonance, emotional coherence, aligned mindset and supportive beliefs that align with those goals you want to achieve, and then followed by the actions, working with your body rather than the hustle. A plan that works for you and brings you closer towards success. And lastly, the structure and the systems that help hold it all in place. Those are your 7 steps. It is doable. It is possible. You can do this. Start with your why. And in the meantime, if you are feeling a little bit of FOMO, fear no more, because the priority waitlist for my very next round of Efficiency Made Easy is already up and running. So stay tuned. I'm going to be sharing some more details with you in just a moment. Make sure you get your name on that list. I would love to see you there so that we can also get you closer towards those wild, big dreams of yours and have fun while we're achieving them. Until next week, thank you for listening. So much love. Bye for now. How valuable would it be for you to get more done in less time while having more energy? Imagine the things that you could achieve if you finally stopped running on empty and instead learn to cultivate peak performance in your work, life, and business. We did just close enrollment for my very first round of Efficiency Made Easy, but I've got you. If you do also want to join this incredible group coaching program where I am going to be teaching the exact systems, tools, and processes I use to run my life, make sure you get yourself on the priority waitlist for when we open doors again, which is just a few short months away. In case you're wondering if this is for you, well, look, does any of this apply? You might have big goals and a full schedule, but you're trying to achieve them through forced productivity. Or you're physically exhausted, but your mind just won't stop. Perhaps you feel a low grade of anxiety throughout your day, like even when you're trying to rest. And maybe you spend your day reacting to pings, emails, firefighting all the demands. And then by the time you get to the end of the week, you just move the same to-do list items all the way back over to Monday. If any of this applies to you and you would like to join this special program, make sure that you join the priority waitlist today. The link is in the show notes below and at viktorialevenberg.com/success. Can't wait to see you there. The views and opinions expressed by guests on Resonance are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of me, Viktoria Levenberg, Live in Health, or anyone working within the Live in Health brand. This space welcomes a diversity of ideas, experiences, and stories, and part of Resonance is learning to take what aligns and gently leaving the rest. Also, while I am a national board certified health and wellness coach and deeply passionate about well-being, this podcast is intended for educational and inspirational purposes only. Resonance does not substitute personalized medical, psychological, or therapeutic advice. Always seek guidance from qualified professionals for any physical, emotional, or mental health concerns.